All right, so I'm sure by now most of you guys have seen Ben TK's Europe video, which he posted a couple weeks ago, which absolutely mind blowing. So many great transitions. He did an amazing job, super creative. It was awesome. He used a little bit of 3D modeling in there, but a lot of it was with After Effects. And I'm going to teach you guys today how to do the open the door transition, where he has a few scenes where a door opens and he flies through it, or a window opens and he flies through it. And this is done in After Effects. It's relatively simple, relatively short. So let's jump right into it. All right, so you guys first have to have a clip with something that you're gonna have open. So whether that's a door or a window, could be anything. But for me right here, I just have a door, and I'm pretty much using a gimbal and walking my camera towards the door here. And so what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna first need to track our video. So you're gonna select your video, gonna go to the very beginning of it. We're gonna come over to tracker, and we're gonna go track camera. And come over to fixed angle of view and put variable zoom if you're zooming. And let's let this solve our clip. All right, so my footage just got done solving. And as you can see here, we have a bunch of track points around. And if we scroll through our footage, you'll kind of see those track points go along with our footage here. So let's go back to the beginning. And we're gonna wanna select a plane that's relatively close to the door plane. So if you notice, like, you wouldn't want to select maybe like a plane like that because it has no relevance to our door, and it's just going to make things harder for you later on. So let's just go and select, this looks like a relatively good plane going from the doorknob to here to here. So we're going to right click, go create solid and camera from that. So what this has done is it's created a solid here, and it's created a 3D camera that has that tracking information. So if you notice, that solid stays in its same position and plane as we move through our footage. So for now, what we can do is we can turn off the solid. We can come back to door footage, and let's duplicate this by hitting Controller Command D. And then what we're gonna wanna do is go to the very first frame, right click, come to time, and go to freeze frame. And you can actually come under this clip here and go under effects and delete the camera tracker because we won't need it. So now if we were to run through this footage, you notice it doesn't do anything because we've frozen the frame on this door here, which is that very first image. So the next thing we're going to want to do is create a mask around our door on our frozen image. So let's just go door image here just so we don't get confused. So let's come up here and let's create a mask here. So I'm actually gonna zoom kind of far in, and doesn't have to be, well, I'm not gonna make it perfect, but if you were gonna use this in a video such as his, you definitely want to take your time when you do this. Okay, you can hit double MM for mask properties. And I'm not going to feather it, maybe 0.5, not too much at all. So now we have our masked door. So if we were to take out that bottom footage here, you notice that we just have our door, and it's just staying in one spot here. So what we can do is we can take this door, we can bring it up to the top here. And the first thing we're going to want to do is make it 3D here. All right, so after you made your door a 3D layer, what we're gonna come and do is we're gonna come to track solid, we're gonna hit P for position, click on it, copy by Control C, come up to door, P for position, and then Control V. So now what we've done is we've pasted the position track data of our solid onto the position of our door image. So it's pretty much now like our door image is the solid we initially created. So if you were to scroll through your footage here, you notice that that door stays exactly where that solid would stay, which is good because now it's tracked with our footage. But you notice also when we did that, it changed the size, it changed the location, everything of our door here. And so now this is where it's gonna be, it could be and can be a little tedious. We're gonna come to the very beginning of the frame, and we're just gonna work with this door image here. And the first thing we're gonna do is change the anchor point to a position where the hinges would be that you would rotate it about. So since our door, our handle's over here, so our hinges are over here, so the door would rotate this way. we're going to want to place this anchor point somewhere along this edge, preferably I would say in the middle. And that goes as if you had a cupboard or a window too. So let's first now move this anchor point onto this edge here. And I'm going to move it. Oops, that's position. I don't want that. What did I do? Yeah, okay. Get it on that edge. And then I'm going to put it kind of like right where that doorknob is almost. And you don't really have to mess with the Z. All right, so that's looking good. Because now what we can do is when it comes time to rotate the door, it's going to be super easy because we have our Y-axis right here. And so we can just rotate it over one axis. And it's going to save you a ton of time. Trust me, a ton of time if you can get this right here. All right, so now we have that. So now what we want to do is we want to change the position, obviously. So let's put the position right about here. So you also notice that the anchor point here is what is going to help us scale our image too. So when we scale it, which we're going to have to do, it's going to scale about that anchor point. So it's super helpful to have that anchor point in a good position. So move that to the correct position and then scale your image to roughly what do you think it would be. And then this is where it's going to kind of get a little tedious because you're going to have to turn it on and off until you find a good spot where it overlays pretty much perfectly on your old image. And this is going to take some time scaling it, some time maybe rotating it, position, etc. So, all right, perfect. So for the purpose of this tutorial, this is where I'm going to keep my image. And so you notice when I turn my image on and off, you know, it's off slightly by a few pixels, but purpose of the tutorial, it's going to work just fine here. All right, so now we have our door overlaid on our original image. We have our 3D camera tracker and we have our footage down below here. So now what we're going to want to do is I'm actually going to come down to the bottom footage again, do Control D, and I'm going to turn this off and I'm just going to rename this as base just in case something happens, just like saving the original file. And we're going to come to this. And now what we're going to want to do is we're going to create a mask on this because when this door opens, we're not going to want to see the door behind it. We're going to want to see whatever our next video is. So what we're going to do is select this bottom layer here, come up to mask, and I'm going to first initially mask it slightly less than the door here. And this is just my preferability here. And then hit MM, and you're going to want to invert that mask. So nothing has changed, but you notice if we turn the door on and off, now we have this kind of black hole here. So what we're then going to do is scroll to a point in time where you maybe want that door to swing open. So I'm going to say maybe right here, I'm going to want that door to swing open. You're going to make sure to click that mask path. Can't tell you how many times you've masked a path and you hadn't actually keyframed it. So make sure you click that little stopwatch so you're keyframing it. And then what we're going to want to do is go over one frame. And we are then going to mask this door here. So let's see. Going to want to mask it. And if you want, you can add a little bit of feather if you so please. But like you see right there, you definitely don't want to go over because it's going to show. So about right there is probably good. And then what we're going to want to do is come to a spot on our original image here. And we're going to now alt click Y in this case, because what happened is we've positioned this anchor point. So our Y axis here is what we are rotating about. So it may be different for you. It may be your Z axis or your X axis, and you just want to double check that before you start rotating it. But because we have lined this up so nicely, we can easily rotate this, and look at that. It looks exactly like the door's opening without too much trouble for us having to rotate it. So what we can then do is I'm gonna Control Z that, I'm gonna Alt click that, and I'm gonna come forward a few frames, and then I'm going to open up either in or out, whatever you feel. So I'll open it in here just for the heck of it, even though my door doesn't actually do that. And then what we're gonna have to do is come further in, and if you notice, our original mask on our door footage bottom layer here is not tracked. So this is where you're gonna have to physically go in and keyframe it. But since it's a pretty square door around, it's not too much trouble. It's actually pretty easy. And if you want to do it correctly here, go towards pretty much the end of your clip where you're gonna stop. So for my purpose, I'm gonna stop like right here. And since we masked it and we put a keyframe in the front over here, we're gonna go to where we end, and then you're going to put one there. And then you'll go in the middle of those two and you'll put another one until it kind of works itself out here. So let's go to the mask. We're at the end of our video clip here, and let's now make sure this door is masked out. And obviously, like I said in his video, he definitely took a lot more time in doing this, so it looks really realistic and it looks very nice and clean. You're not getting any you know, pixels that shouldn't be there. All right, so now we have that. So now we can scroll back through our footage, and if there's ever a point, such as maybe right there, where our footage, see how it doesn't look good. So let's come maybe right here, and let's click on this mask path here. And now we're gonna have to animate that into its correct position, which will be right there, and probably right there. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna go through and do this for the keyframes. So now if we scroll through, that's not looking too bad. It's not looking bad at all. Beautiful. See, so there I saved myself from keyframing every single keyframe and just going to the very end, putting my mark, my keyframes, my ending keyframe, sorry, going to the middle, putting some keyframes, and then it kind of sorts itself out. So then if you were to have to go and make changes again, you'd go in the middle of these two keyframes, put one, go in the middle of these two keyframes, put one, so on and so forth. A little tip for you if you have to mask something. All right, so now what we have is, if we were to go and scroll through our footage here, we have our door opening and then us coming to, bam. So now obviously mine stops right there, but you guys get the point. So now, how to get another footage through there? Well, we've already masked this layer here. So all we have to do is come and import a footage, import some footage that you want to transition to. So let's go with maybe like a drone shot here. And I'll put that through, and I'm not really gonna do too much with it, but now what's gonna happen is if I were to scroll through the footage here, we come to our door, the door opens, and we have our new footage right there. Now what's gonna really sell this effect, guys, is, for one thing, make sure you have motion blur clicked on the appropriate footage, because if you notice in his video, he's going pretty quick when he's transitioning through these things, and so you can't really tell that this door is paper thin like you can tell here. Like, it's pretty easy to tell that this door is not a 3D model. But in his video, you're going so fast, you have motion blur. It's super easy to not notice the difference. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is you have to up the video speed. So you definitely want to speed ramp this. All right, guys, so the last tip I have for you is that when you get to the point in your video where you actually want to transition through your door footage into your next clip here, you're obviously going to have to somehow fly through that door frame, because you didn't walk through it because it was shut, or I hope you didn't walk through it. So the way we do this is you're going to come to an ending point, and you're going to first go to your door footage down here. You're going to hit the stopwatch on the scale, and we're going to come up to our frozen door image that is now opened, and we're going to hit the stopwatch on our position because we've made this a 3D layer here. So if your bottom door footage, if you made that 3D layer, you would do position as well. Then we're going to go a few keyframes in front here, and then what you're going to do is come down to your bottom door footage and you're going to scale that up. And you notice that when you scale it, it looks like you're flying through that image here. And then we're going to come up to our frozen door image that's floating out here, and we're going to take the position, and based off your anchor point here, you're going to move the position so the door follows your door footage. And you're going to have to tweak this around and mess around with it because it's not going to be perfect at first, but after a few tries you'll get it. And so if you notice that, I'll have to fix it, but our door comes in with our footage here. So that is Benn TK's door transition, window, cupboard, whatever you want to do, into a different video, which if you haven't seen his Europe video, please go check it out because it is amazing. Yeah, just go check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. With that said, I will catch you guys next time. Peace.